Let's go.
Alright, hello. So today we are looking at an Ableton stock instrument, which I think a lot of the time is massively overlooked. And even if not, if you're a beginner to Ableton, you might not know these things. I know I didn't. But anyway, it's about drum rack, which is this little thing here. You're probably familiar with it. So the thing about drum rack, which I haven't seen mentioned all too much, is that you can put anything in there. Anything at all, whether it's an instrument rack, whether it's audio effects, whether it's samples, whether it's synthesizers, whatever. You can put everything into these pads here. Ned Rush has those like really cool, I think they're called like circa 98 drum racks or something, where it's like a bunch of different Amen break samples and then some 808 basses and some sort of jungle vocals and stuff, and it's all live quantized and you can play it all in a drum rack. Like you're fucking Fred again. I think Ned Rush did a video about making a song in drum rack. I haven't seen that, but we're probably going to be doing a lot of that kind of stuff in this video today. Hopefully it's not a carbon copy. I haven't seen it yet. User-friendly sounds. Also does great videos on how he uses drum rack. And yeah, alright, so first, let's just get some drums in. Alright, so as you can see, I've pulled in a bunch of 808 samples, and they slightly creep up here too. And okay, so if you haven't really used drum rack before, which I'm assuming if you're watching my channel you probably have, but you know, if not, we'll quickly go over some basics. When you bring a sample in, it will automatically bring it in as an Ableton sampler instrument. So if you want to change that, all you have to do, so say, hang on, let's go to Symbol. All you have to do is right click and then sampler to simpler, select it onto one voice, turn off re-trigger, and then controls over here, we can turn our filter off. Amplitude envelope is good. And we don't want that to choke out. And usually if you are in a drum rack, it will normally open up for some reason in this multi-sample mode. And then here you can click through other samples which sound similar or are in a list of samples like the one you've dragged in. However, if you just want them to be a one-shot, set your voices to 1 and decay and release all the way up. And then that works just as normal. But I'm going to quickly delete this and bring in a simpler, just for the sake of it being a bit easier and a bit quicker. Alright, so now if we drag our sample into here, we have the options of classic, one-shot and slice, which we're just going to do one shot for now. Just like that. Perfect. Okay, so from here on out, I'm just going to quickly run this on some of the other samples so they don't choke out like that. And yeah, then we'll get into something else. Okay, so now I have the ones I want into simpler. I've set, only on one of them, I have set the decay and release both to 60 seconds. And now we can just copy value to siblings. And it should have done the rest in the exact same settings. Perfect. And now, if you open up this tab here, which is called the Show Hide Chain List, we can start assigning volumes, panning, you have your ins and outs here, sends and returns, and you can also assign choke groups, which we are definitely going to need, especially for the hi-hat close and open. So if we highlight both of those and set them to choke group 1, perfect. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do is I actually want to add a drum break into here, which I've already pulled up here, which is the Blackbird's theme. Sounds like this. And all we are going to do is click and drag that into, let's do it in a different octave so it's far enough apart. Do it on G#3. Perfect. However, it will only play when you're holding it down. So what I like to do is I like to grab a note length, pull it just before that sampler and switch it to latch. And now, once you click it once, it's just playing. But how do you stop that? Well, I am just going to grab another one of these and delete the note length MIDI effect and set them to their own choke group. So now, if I use my MIDI controller, they should choke each other out. I forgot to turn latch on, my bad. Perfect. All right, cool. So if we call this break latch, this one break stop, and how about we shorten break stop to just that initial crash? Let's pull in an echo, so it's a bit dubby. So echo stop. Yeah, how's this sound? And how about for this one, we're going to pull the release and decay all the way up, just so we can have it ring out a bit. So this. Perfect. All right, and now let's bring in another one of these Blackbird breaks. And for this break, let's call this break random. We are going to group the break with itself. Let's turn our filter off too, and let's check volume to velocity. Yeah, that's all the way down. That's what we want. And how about we just reverse this one? Let's see how it sounds with the other two. Okay, we're going to need another note length before this instrument rack and have it on latch. So this one is just going to be random. And then let's duplicate this. Let's turn reverse off. So let's name this one reverse. And then let's do a bunch of beat repeats. All right, cool. So I've added, how many is this? 5 beat repeats? Yeah. And they kind of just randomly groove us a bit more, you know, without us having to worry about too much writing. So let's have a quick listen to how that sounds. And all we've written up here is that. Cool, so now let's, in this chain here for our break random, let's add in another one. So if we just duplicate this one chain here, take reverse off and sustain mode. I need to put sustain mode on for this as well, my bad. Okay, what are we going to have on this one? Let's try maybe some tuned raw. Whoa, alright, cool, I like that, but I want to add... I want to add some other stuff onto that. How about a bit of flange? Okay, let's also add an autopan onto here. Just right on the end there. And then a mount all the way up. Shape like that, and have a phase like that. And then set it to, yeah, 16ths. Why not? Maybe pull up phase slightly. Yeah, okay, that's that one. And let's call this Notey Wobble. Alright, and then let's grab this reverse one again because it's our closest to a default one. Take off reverse. And how about now we use spectral time on this one? Cool, I like the sound of that just as is. So let's call this spectral time. For this one, let's also turn reverse off of that. Let's get an auto filter. Let's set it to, let's say, a bandpass. Try this out, see how it sounds. Put the envelope up a bit. Solo this out. Cool, and let's grab an echo onto the end of that. And let's have a look. Ping pong, maybe? Okay, and now you might be asking what's the point of all this? Well, we are going to go into our chain. We are going to select every single one of these. We're going to pull the chain out all the way, and then we're going to right-click and distribute ranges equally. And then let's do it before this note length. We are going to grab a modulator, grab the LFO, and we are going to set this to random. And then we're going to sync it to, let's do quarter notes for now. We can always change it. Set this to remote, map to our chain selector, and then, okay, let's have a listen to how that's sounding. So now, whenever break random is triggered, it will play one of these. We can also map it to our velocity. How about we do that? Okay, let's chill out this chain for a sec. Let's try the velocity. So if we turn that off, that should be okay. Yeah. Let's drag these back to the default. Okay, so this is much better. So if we go to our break random, and then we go into the velocity tab, then distribute those ranges equally. This can be velocity picked, if that makes sense. So if we turn our monitoring on, I believe that's our beat repeat one. Then that one. Okay. Where this is reversing, so we want it to stop, we just click break stop. I don't know why that does that. Okay, that's sounding really cool. Now let's write some of the 808 stuff in. So let's just do a sort of generic, boring kick and snare pattern. Hi-hats, just full 16ths. And then over here, we're going to bring up our chance window, put the chance all the way, not all the way down, but quite far down. Okay, cool. Well, it's sounding a bit messy, and I highly doubt you would actually have all that playing for one track, but, you know, just in case you were, let's just chuck on OTT. Okay, cool. And now, to get a bit somewhat AFX20, let's bring in a reverb here. Where are we? If I just pull in that reverb there, dry wet all the way up. How about with an expression control, anytime we get the clap, it sends randomly into the reverb. So if I go into MIDI effects, then expression control, put it just before the clap, and then on random, switch that to remote, and then map that to the send. perfect. And now let's just, I'm going to write in some fills. Okay, and now for our 808s, because I want to do some kind of glitchy bits and bobs here and there, I am going to, in here, set our volume to velocity all the way up. Alright, all of our 808s now have the velocity to volume. Cool, and that has gotten substantially louder. All the 808s have gotten much louder now. So if we... Oh yeah, you can open up your drum rack here, and this is where you can do all the stuff that's also in here. So if you just prefer this view, do that. So I'm just going to highlight this, hold shift, highlight this, and just pull all their volumes down a bit. Okay, and now for our hi-hat closed, how about we just randomize the velocity a bit like that. Same with our hi-hat open. How about we set this to 8 bars, and here we are just going to have the 808, so we're just going to duplicate that. Alright, now let's have a listen to that clip. And maybe then we can carry on with break random. And for this break random, let's randomize the velocity so we never know what we're going to get. But maybe... Okay, let's do that for both bars there. And now for this one, let's just do the most basic 1-bar pattern. All we've got now is this. And now, I've done a whole video on this before, and it's easy ways to create PolyMeters. So if we send the MIDI from this channel into our drum rack, by clicking here, then clicking drum rack, when we open this MIDI clip up, it's as if we're working in the drum rack, which I think is amazing. So now let's do a hi-hat open. And we're going to just pull this down by 5/16 notes. And now the other thing you need to do is turn off arm exclusive and arm both these channels. Let's add a clap. Let's add a little clave pattern and see how that's sounding. Okay, cool. That is funky, but let's have straight 16ths with our maracas. Polymeter 1, let's do another one just for fun. Send our MIDI to drum rack. Record arm this track too. Open up the MIDI and let's just get the break stop because it sounds quite cool with the delay. And we're going to add 3/16 notes onto this one. Drag it there and... It sounds drunk, but yeah, there you go. Polymeters 2. Alright, so now let's group all 3 of these together, but I'm actually going to rename them real quick. So Poly 1, Poly 2, Clip 1. Clip 2. clip 1 again. Now we're going to start adding melodic stuff. So for this, I find it best if we make our melodic thing somewhere else and then drag and drop it into our drum rack. So let's go for D sharp Dorian as per usual. Now I'm just going to get a preset thingamajig. Have a look at what this Orphans pad is. Very happy with that. Okay, so now MIDI effects once again. We are going to close off this operator for now, bring in a MIDI effect rack, and here we are going to bring in a chord. Now let's scale aware this and shift some stuff about, and let's see how this sounds. I'm happy for that to be our first chord. Now let's duplicate this. This is very similar to the drum break. Let's shift this up 2 again, and this one up 2 again. Lovely. Let's do it again. And this one, we're going to have a bit of a bigger chord. Cool. And now let's open up our chains. Let's grab all of these and drag them out. Distribute ranges equally. I'm just going to have a quick listen to how each one sounds. Now let's grab another MIDI effect, which is going to be expression control. We're going to bring this before our MIDI effect rack, and we're going to go to incremental, or increment, sorry. We're going to select our steps to be 4, and then remote, and we're going to set that here. Now every time this should play, we should bounce between these chords. Voila. All right. Now let's group these all together. Let's bring in some macros for our synthesizer. How about we set this to macro 1? Oh, and then set that to macro 1. And how about we also do that for... Let's also do it for the amount of LFO being played, because it's sample and hold. It sounds quite nice. So let's have that to macro 2, and then let's also have that to macro 2. And this expression control on random is going to be on modulate. Set that there. Let's lower our range and maybe bring it up a bit. Cool, and then let's bring in another random. Let's set this to remote as well, and let's do this to the LFO amount. Okay, now let's name this pad with chords, or chods. And now, if I open up this group, we can drag this over into our drum rack. Let's pick a different octave again, and let's do this. Okay, so notice how it's much higher. Well, what were we playing over here? We were playing D sharp 2. So if we go into our drum rack, click our in and out, we are playing C3. So let's bring this way back down to D sharp 2. There we go. Let's send it to the reverb too. Okay, cool. And now let's, how about we make a little pluck sound? Let's group this all together. Let's call this, I don't know, like Plucky. And now open our drum rack once again, go to Plucky, and then click and drag it in next to our pads with chords. And then over here, so say our chords are done for the first 4 bars, Plucky has a small chance to play every single 16th note, and we're going to bring that chance way down low. And then if we go back to Plucky, open it up, and then on MIDI effects we're going to click random, drag that in, scale aware, chance quite high. Now let's have a listen to our whole clip, which is 8 bars long. And yeah, this is all in one drum rack. Let's go. Okay, cool. And now in our polyrhythm bit, how about we just every now and then have a Plucky. Hope you enjoyed the video. That's kind of what you can do in drum rack, and you can do a lot more. But this video seems like it's gone on for quite a while now, so let's have a listen.